For my project, I analyzed the activity of my dad pouring coffee into a mug. This activity is an ADL specifically under the category of meal preparation. This activity is broken down into 4 phases: the preparatory phase, the movement phase, the follow-through phase, and the recovery phase. The preparatory phase includes my dad reaching for the pot and grasping the handle. His right upper extremity is the primary mover. My dad begins to reach as he flexes his elbow to around 75 degrees. My dad's cervical spine bilaterally flexes his neck to look down at around 35 degrees. To reach the pot, his glenohumeral joint flexes to around 60 degrees, and his elbow extends to 0. As his hand gets closer, his forearm slightly pronates to 5 degrees, and his wrist ulnarly deviates and extends to about 10 and 25 degrees, respectively. To grasp the handle, the MCPs, PIPs, and DIPs of digits 2 through 5 extend to 0 degrees. The thumb CMC radially abducts to 40 degrees, and the IP extends to 0. The extension of the digits gives my dad room to hold the handle. As his fingers grip the pot, the MCPs, PIPs, and DIPs of digits 2 through 5 flex to 80, 90, and 60 degrees, respectively. The thumb CMC flexes to around 5 degrees and the IP to around 25. On his left side, the thoracic spine also rotates to the left around 15 degrees. The left upper extremity is at rest otherwise. The movement phase occurs as my dad pulls the pot out of the machine and pours the coffee. To pull the pot, the GH joint extends to return his arm to neutral, or 0 degrees. The elbow flexes to 80 degrees. As he pulls the pot, his thoracic spine rotates to the right to return to neutral, which is also 0 degrees. His GH joint then abducts to 90 degrees and internally rotates to 20 as the pot is tilted towards the mug. It's also slightly flexed at 30 degrees. The forearm pronates from neutral to 80 degrees. My dad's wrist flexes and ulnarly deviates to 40 and 30 degrees respectively to angle the pour. In terms of his grip around the pot, the thumb CMC is still radially abducted to 40 degrees and flexed to 5. The IP continues to flex from 25 degrees to 50 as the grip is tightened. The MCPs of digits 2 through 5 increase from 80 degrees of flexion to 90 as the grip is tightened. The PIPs and DIPs remain the same from the preparatory phase, which was 90 and 60 degrees of flexion. My dad is holding the coffee pot, which is moderately heavy, so these movements occur with moderate resistance. Since the left side is still primarily at rest, the only movement that occurs here is rotation to the right, since abdominal muscles on both left and right sides are contracting. The follow-through phase includes my dad lowering the pot, returning it to the machine, and letting go of the handle. The GH joint adducts at 0 degrees as the pot is turned upright. The forearm supinates and returns to neutral, which is 0 degrees. The shoulder then flexes to a total of 60 degrees as my dad moves the pot back to the machine, while the elbow simultaneously extends to 0. As he returns the pot, my dad extends his cervical spine back to around 0 degrees when he lifts his head up. As the pot gets closer to the stand, his wrist extends to 25 degrees. The thumb CMC is still radially abducted to 40 degrees and flexed to 5. The IP remains flexed at 50 degrees. The MCPs, PIPs, and DIPs of digits 2 through 5 also remain in the same flexed position from the movement phase. The MCPs are flexed 90 degrees, the PIPs flexed to 90, and the DIPs flexed to 60 degrees. My dad then sets the pot back on the stand and releases his grip. As he releases, the MCPs, PIPs, and DIPs extend back to 0 degrees. The thumb CMC and IP also extend to 0 degrees. The left side is still primarily at rest. When my dad extends his arm to the machine, his thoracic spine once again slightly rotates to the left, which is about 15 degrees. Abdominal muscles on both the right and left sides contract to perform this function. The recovery phase begins after my dad has released his grip on the handle. He proceeds to return his arm to his side in order to be ready to perform other movements. The glenohumeral joint once again extends back to 0 degrees as my dad retracts his arm away from the machine. As the GH joint extends, the humeral ulnar and humeral radial joints flex to around 75 degrees. My dad's fingers all relax into a flexed position as he retracts his arm. The thumb CMC adducts to around 0 degrees. The IP joint flexes to around 10 degrees. The MCPs, PIPs, and DIPs of digits 2 through 5 curl up as his hand comes down to rest. The MCPs flex to around 50 degrees, the PIPs to around 65 degrees, and the DIPs to around 40 degrees. As he brings his arm downwards, the humeral ulnar and humeral radial joints extend to a resting position of 0 degrees. In addition, as his arm comes back to his body, the thoracic spine rotates to the right, back from 15 degrees to 0 degrees. The left side is still primarily at rest, so the only movement occurring is the left and right abdominal muscles as they return his trunk to neutral.